Yeah, 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 yeah.
What are the 5 biggest issues facing blacks in America? Here's my list.
Racism?
Problem number 5, the victim mentality.
Oh.
Nothing holds someone back more than seeing himself as a victim. Why? Because a victim is not responsible for his situation. Everything is someone else's fault. And the victim sees little chance of improving his life. How can he get ahead if someone...
This is kind of facts, though, because if you look at any situation where someone sees themselves like that, like it's never their fault, usually their life is probably not going to be in the best, like, predicament. Like, for example, let's say you're on a basketball team or you're on a sports team and you're not getting no playing time. Instead of saying, like, dang, the coach hate me, or dang, like, everybody on the court, everyone on the team hates me, they jealous of me. That's a victim mentality. Rather, you could just be like, you know what? I'm going to grind in the summertime. I'm going to work on my jump shot. I'm going to work on my passes, my handles, get less turnovers. That's a winner's mentality. So this is low-key facts. The first, I have nothing against the first thing he just said.
When it's holding them back. All this makes the victim unhappy, frustrated, and angry. This is how too many blacks see themselves, as victims. So much so that their victim status becomes their primary identity and their ruling ideology.
Where is he getting this information?
Victimology. Unfortunately, many black churches preach this victimology. Many black parents pass it on to their children. Inner city schools teach it to their students, and the black media reinforce it. Meanwhile, the NAACP and other black grievance groups fundraise on it.
Okay, this is a lot to unpack here, man. This is a lot to unpack here. So, firstly, he has a point, man. He has a point. In a lot of the media, there's like saying like, and I get it, like the oppression with within like minority groups or whatever. But here's my problem with it. That kind of ties into this video. If your main prerogative or objective is to push a negative narrative, you're not helping a community. And the reason I say that is because if you're always telling the African-American community, I'm just say black, always telling the black community that, yeah, you're oppressed, or yeah, you can't do this right here, that gets caught in your subconscious mind. And even if you have good intentions, it doesn't do good things. Like if someone's always telling you, yeah, you're oppressed, yeah, you can't do this right here, even if you are the smartest person, are you the most courageous, or you're the most ambitious person, that mindset is going to get stuck inside of your subconscious mind. And that's not good for the community at all, man. Because once you fail, here's what's going to happen. Once you fail as a black young man or black young woman, you're not going to be looking at, dang, what could I do to improve? You're going to be looking at, dang, society hates me. Society wants me to fail. Society did this to me. And that's not always the case, bruh. But I will say this. I don't know much about the NAACP. I don't even know what that stands for. National African American something. I really don't know. So, but I will say that organizations such as that, they do have a lot of like scholarships and opportunities for young black people, because I received one. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, they don't care about the community, because that's cap, man. They've helped me out as a student when I was applying to colleges. I needed I needed like scholarships. They helped me. I'm not even gonna lie, like they helped me, but that's like you going out of your way to get something. You can't have a victim mentality and get where you want to go in life. Black, white, don't matter.
Problem number 4, lack of diversity. Blacks repeatedly demand an honest dialogue or debate about race. But how can there ever be an honest dialogue about race between blacks and whites when there is virtually no honest dialogue between blacks and blacks? It's hypocritical. And if a black doesn't think whites are ultimately responsible for black people's problems, they're labeled a sellout, Uncle Tom, or race traitor. As long as this type of groupthink exists, race reverence of the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson type will continue to be celebrated, while independent black thinkers such as Professors Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams will be shunned.
That is crazy. He said lack of diversity when black people, so he's saying like we need to have an open dialogue about race, bro. I'm not going to hold you. In life, I faced a lot of problems. I faced a lot of problems. And thankfully for my parents, I'm not even going to hold y'all. It never even crossed my mind to blame anyone else for my problems but myself. And when it comes to blaming white people, I have never blamed white. Like, I'm not even going to lie. That never even crossed my mind. So when I hear stuff like this, it's kind of shocking to me because I don't blame white people for my problems. I've never blamed white people for my problems. I've never blamed the system for my problems because in America, you have the most freedom here than anywhere else. So if I can't achieve something, who am I to look at someone else who's also building their life up trying to achieve something, black, white, it don't matter, and blame them? They don't even know me. They have nothing to do with my problems. Of course, you can say like, yeah, there could be some systemic issues. I don't know personally because I'm still learning about it. But for you as a black person to look at a white person and be like, yeah, you're the reason I have issues. They just try to go to work. They try to feed their family the same way you trying to feed your family. So it's not fair. It's not right to look at them and blame them. I agree with that, bro. That's not acceptable.
The honest race dialogue and debate that first has to happen is not between blacks and whites, but between blacks and blacks.
That's facts.
We demand diversity from others, but need to practice it ourselves.
That's
where
facts.
It really matters in thought, opinion, and even political affiliation. Problem number 3, urban terrorism.
Oh.
As just about everyone knows, but too few talk about publicly, in majority black cities, violent black-on-black crime is rampant. A Department of Justice study from 1980 through 2008 revealed that blacks accounted for almost half of the nation's homicides.
What?
47.4%, and more than half of the offenders, 52.4%.
Oh my God.
All while being 13% of America's population. The Tuskegee Institute conducted a study of all known lynchings of blacks that occurred between 1882 through 1968.
That is crazy. I did not know that, bro. This kind of ties into the second issue of lack of diversity, because if you look at it like this, bro, if we are always looking at another community, blaming them for our issues, this kind of implies that we are ignoring our community and how we can solve our own issues. And what I mean by that is, just hear me out. Look at some of the movements we've had, like the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm not saying that had bad intent or ill intent. What I'm saying is that movement was crazy. Like that movement was crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. Like it was everywhere. You couldn't not see it. But let's say our community has an issue, like the lack of fatherhood in our communities. We have black women raising a lot of the kids on their own. That's one thing I look at. Another thing I look at is, like he said, we have a lot of homicide rates. I didn't even know we were that high. Or we have or our young boys are reading at a way lower level than other races. I'm just throwing stuff up at the wall. But all I'm saying is, instead of us looking at these issues and like having outrage for it in our communities, we look at another community and be like, you're the reason we having issues. And it's kind of childish in my mind, because we're kind of looking at another community as above ours instead of saying, like, you know what, we can solve our own issues. But I don't know, man. I wish we just looked at ourselves a little more, because I think that would be more effective at the end of the day.
During this 86-year span, which is essentially the post-Civil War era up to the Civil Rights era, 3,446 blacks were reportedly lynched. Presently, black-on-black murder eclipses the number of blacks lynched over the course of 80 years, roughly every 6 months. Unbelievably, the culpability for this disproportionate amount of mayhem actually lies with a menacing 2 to 3% minority within the black populace.
God.
I call them urban terrorists. And since they're literally spawned from problem number 2, the black community protects them. Problem number 2, proliferation of baby mamas. The disintegration of the nuclear family has led to an astronomical increase of single mother households. According to the Moynihan Report, in 1965, nearly 25% of black children were born to unwed mothers. The report's author, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, said this was a disaster in the making. He was, of course, vilified by so-called black leaders and their progressive allies.
Bro, this stuff make me sad, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, man. This stuff is sad, because I love my community. I love my community, man. And when I watch this stuff, it's like, I'm sorry, y'all. This makes me so sad, because I love to see my community uplifted. I love everything about being black in America. But it's like when I watch this stuff, it's like we just ignore it. And I'm like, do y'all not care about the community? Do y'all just want to be victims? Like, we have so many issues. I'm not saying it's anyone's. I'm not saying it is our fault. I'm not gonna lie, it's our fault. And we need to stop looking outward and start looking inward, because we have huge issues in our community. He said urban terrorism. When you talk about that, man, that's like a whole culture. Like, we have a whole music culture behind that. And instead of being like, no, this is destroying our community, we get behind it. We push it more. And when it comes about single motherhood, unless a woman is choosing to be a single mother, like she went out her way to be one, then I don't think it's the best interest for our community. I'll say that, because I believe in fathers are extremely important to children and mothers are extremely important. And together they bring a different thing, man. This stuff is sad. Like, this is really sad for me to watch.
But he was right. Today, the out-of-wedlock birth rate is nearly 75%, and even higher in some urban areas. To be clear, baby daddies share this responsibility with baby mamas. Yet, while baby daddies are blamed and rarely shown compassion, baby mamas are rarely blamed and receive both compassion and support. This lopsided dynamic and the previously listed pathologies stem directly from the #1 problem facing the Black community. Problem number 1. Unquestioning allegiance to so-called progressive policies. Unwavering loyalty to progressive liberal policies is the primary reason these dire conditions persist. It both makes them possible and perpetuates them. It's no coincidence that progressivism is the common thread that binds predominantly Black cities where single-parent homes, failing schools, rampant poverty, and crime predominate. Look at cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. They've been run by progressive Democrats for decades. If their liberal policies were at all effective, these cities should have become models of economic growth and prosperity.
But it's like, I can't even debate this, bro. Like, you literally cannot debate this, man. And I'm not saying progressiveness is bad. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is, these cities that are predominantly Black and have been ran by the progressiveness party, they aren't getting better. You can actually argue that they're getting worse. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's sad, and it's really upsets me. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even disagree with this video.
Instead, they're models of dysfunction. By fostering and exploiting the victim mentality, discouraging self-examination, subsidizing baby mamas, and making excuses for Black thugs, so-called progressive policies don't alleviate the problems that afflict the Black community. They aggravate those problems. You may have noticed that racism did not make the list. Why not? It's simple. There will be no solution to the problems afflicting Black America until more Blacks recognize that the issues plaguing our community are ultimately self-inflicted. Does racism exist? Sure, but there are other problems far more serious. And waiting until there are no more races will mean waiting and making excuses forever. I'm Talib Starks for Prager University.
That was an amazing video, man. I feel like a lot of people are going to get the premise that he's denouncing racism and saying it doesn't affect the Black community. And I personally don't think he's saying that. I think he's saying that if we put all of our, efforts behind fighting that, like looking at that, we're setting ourselves back by ignoring our own issues, such as the victim mentality, lack of diversity, urban terrorism, and unquestioned allegiance. And it's crazy because I've seen in my life so far, I've seen all of these issues, man. Instead of questioning policies and politicians, I guess, we blindly follow some. Instead of questioning the urban landscape of our culture, we just embrace it. And I get it, you embrace it on some level, but we embrace it fully despite the amount of damage it can do to our community. And then we blame other people for the problems in our community continuously growing. And it's really sad to me because I've had a great life, bruh, and I just care about my community so much. But anyways, if y'all have any suggestions, comment them down below. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.